Today's video is sponsored by Kunai Threads. Whether it's a Blackbeard playmat, a Shanks shirt, or even a doflamingo pickleball set, they've got you covered. Use code JohnnyTCG and hit the link in my bio to get 5% off your entire order. Thank you, Kunai Threads, for sponsoring this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Johnny TCG video. I'm Johnny TCG, and I am happy to see you today. Not only am I happy, I am very happy because Lim from OP09, which is a leader I did not think was very good, I have found new life with her. She is way better when I've run this package, and I cannot wait to share it with you all. We've got 3 things on the schedule today. First, we're going to do a deck profile, looking at the leader, looking at this new deck list that I think is really interesting. Second, we're going to do a giveaway. If you're new to the channel, in just about every single video, we do a giveaway. Then third, we've got games on the sim, taking a look at this deck in action. Of course, the deck list will be in the description below if you just want to copy and paste it straight to the sim and try it out yourself. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Johnny, didn't you just do a video on Lim? Didn't you say she was kind of mid? And that is true, I did. But I'm a changed man. I have seen the light. I encountered a player on the sim running a film package with her, and she was a lot stronger, and so that's when a light bulb went off and I said, I gotta try this. So this is the package I've come up with using film cards and Odyssey cards. I think you're gonna find it pretty interesting and pretty unique. It definitely catches a lot of people off guard, and so let's get right into it. Him has 2 unique abilities. The first is that all of your characters come into play as rested. This is a really big deal. There are some situations where this is actually a good thing, but often it's really a detriment. Having your characters come in as rested means they're vulnerable on the turn that they're played to getting swung into. Every time you play a character in this game, they're vulnerable to your opponent removing them, whether that be KOing, trashing, or bottom decking, or sending even back to hand. But this also makes them vulnerable to just get attacked into, which means sometimes it will be awkward and your characters will get KO'd before you can even really get value from them. That's just the way this leader is. Her second ability, though, is very strong. You may rest 3 Don, set a Don as rested from your Don deck, and then play out a cost 5 or less Odyssey character from your hand. This is great. On turn 2, if you're on the odd curve, for 3 Don, you can cheat out a 5 cost body, a 5 cost 6,000 power Dofi, for example. That's huge. A lot of the Odyssey cards have effects that synergize with this leader ability. So for example, if you have a certain amount of rested characters on the field, a certain effect will happen. We'll get into those in a moment. We're going to start off with a film card, and that is 4 of the EB01 Sanji, just a 4 cost 5,000 power character, mostly used for his 2k counter, but in a pinch he could be a relevant attacker. He has the ability of Don times 1 during your turn. For every 3 rested Don on your field, this character gains an extra 1,000 power, so in a pinch he could become a viable attacker. At the end of the day though, I usually use him as a searchable 2k in that film package. Next we're running 2 Roronoa Zoros, 9 cost, 9,000 power from OP06. This card is amazing in this deck. There's an argument to run him at 3. 4 might be a lot, but 3 would probably be pretty good. Being able to swing with him 3 times in a row means that if your opponent can't deal with him the turn you play him, he'll either win you the game or destroy their board. Now, this is an example of where it definitely hurts with Lim's leader ability just because he's going to come in rested, and that gives your opponent the opportunity to swing into him. Next, we're running 2 of the 9 cost 9,000 power audio from OP09. He's got the on play of set up to 3 of your rested Don as active. Then he's got the ability of once per turn during your opponent's turn, you may rest the Don and then give a leader or character plus 2,000 power. This is great built-in 2k counter basically. You just have to make sure you leave a Don open for him. I wasn't running him in my original Lim list, but I decided to take Eustace Captain Kid out from OP01 and include him, and I've been liking him a lot better. Maybe it's just my playstyle, but I was not really feeling Eustace Captain Kid in this list. It didn't feel great when I could not amass a large hand size, and so sometimes it felt like he was getting removed way too easily and he wasn't really worth it. Audio, on the other hand, I really like. He's been better than I expected. 2 copies seems enough for me just because we have some other big bodies that we can use. He's searchable off our Lim character searcher though, and we really like that. Next we're running 2 of the 6 cost 7,000 power Sakazuki Odyssey from OP09. His ability is on play if you have 2 or more rested characters, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5,000 or less. It's really nice on 6 Don to be able to pop a 5 cost and establish a 7,000 power body. I really like him in this deck. Next we have one of the Odyssey goats, and that is Sabo. 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1,000 counter, and he is a great card to cheat out early with your leader ability. You've got the ability when attacking once per turn, if you have 3 or more rested characters on the field, draw a card. Now this can really help sustain you into the late game. If you're able to establish this early and get continuous card draw from it, you are going to be cooking your opponent. Just because you're drawing cards, he's a good 6,000 swing. I'm telling you, if you can establish the Sabo, you're going to be in great shape. I love him at a 4 of. You can cheat him out at 3 Don. Who doesn't love that? Next, we have one of the other best Odyssey cards, and that is 5 cost, 6,000 power, doflamingo. This guy is strong, ladies and gentlemen. If you played against one in the 2nd anniversary / OP09 pre-release, you already know what I'm talking about. 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k of counter, and he has the ability of at the end of your turn, if you have 2 or more rested characters, set him as active. That's huge. He's a blocker, a nice 5 cost, 6,000 power blocker that you can establish on your 3 Don turn. That's huge. He's almost always going to get his ability of being able to be restood at the end of your turn. If he does not, you're probably in rough shape, because that means that he's the only character on the board and you're not going to be able to win a game if he's the only character on the board. But 4 of, gotta run him. I love him. Next, we have 4 Don Quixote Rocinante Odyssey from OP09. 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1,000 counter. He's a less good doflamingo, to be honest. He's got the blocker trait, and then he gets set active on your opponent's attack. Oftentimes, your opponent will just swing into him because they don't want him to get value by blocking for another character. But at the end of the day, that's kind of like a block too if he's absorbing an attack. On 6 Don, I really like playing him out and then cheating out another Odyssey character as well, establishing 2 bodies on the board in 1 turn. And you hopefully will have that other body you played the turn previously. You're going to be in great shape. Our next card is the Odyssey Nico Robin. 3 of them, OP09, Odyssey typing, 4 cost, 5,000 power. She does have 1,000 counter, which is nice, and she is mainly for a matchup against black. Her on play is that if you have 2 or more rested characters, all of your Odyssey and Straw Hat cards cannot be KO'd until the start of your next turn, by effects of course. I'm only running her at 3 though because her main appeal is just for that on play effect, which is most relevant against black decks. Next, we've got 4 of the 5 cost, 5,000 power Odyssey Aces from OP09. We really love that he has 2,000 counter, but he also has a decent on-play ability, where if you have 2 or more rested characters and play him down, he has the on-play of resting one of your opponent's cost 5 or less characters. Sometimes this can be a little bit awkward because it requires you to already have 1 rested character, but this can come in handy sometimes, and he's just a 2k counter, so I would definitely recommend running him. Next, we have 4 of the 3 cost, 5,000 power super rare limbs from OP09. On play, she allows you to do a top 5 search for an Odyssey card, add that to your hand. Then she also has the ability of at the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more rested characters, you can set her as active. She's really good. I definitely think she's a must play for this deck. 3 cost, 5,000 power isn't anything crazy, but that on play and that end of turn ability is really solid. Next, we're running 3 9 cost Shanks from starter deck 16. This card is so good in this deck. Being able to ramp to it is really strong. Establishing a 9 cost 11,000 body early is going to be tough for your opponent to deal with. For those that don't know, his on play is that you just get to KO a rested character. Whether it's early game or late game, this card is really good, and I really think this is what brings the film package together. Being able to search for this card with Buena Vista is just so strong and so good. I can't tell you enough, ladies and gentlemen, this card is a beast in this deck. We're running 4 Shikis from OP02, just a 2 cost, 3,000 power body, not really using it for its trigger, not really using it as a character. We really just care about the fact that it's film and a 2k counter. I like it in the deck just as a searchable 2k counter, but hypothetically the trigger could come in handy in a certain situation, so I think it's solid. We're running 2 of the Douglas Bullet from starter deck 5. 8 cost, 10,000 power is a very good stat line, and he's got the activate main of once per turn. You may return 4 Don to your Don deck, then rest 2 of your opponent's cost 6 or less characters, and this character gains double attack. That is really strong, especially when you're going for game. Even if you played him this turn, you can still use his ability to rest 2 of your opponent's characters and then swing with your other characters on board. 8 Don for him is great value in my opinion, and he's searchable, which is the big thing. I don't think he's the greatest card in the world, but I do think he's solid and is going to be a good addition to this deck. Our last character to talk about is the 1 cost 0 power Bueno Fista Searcher from Starter Deck 5 as well. This is just your typical searcher looking for a film card, which we have a decent amount of in this deck. We've got Sanji, Shanks, Shiki, Douglas Bullet. Ideally, we'd have more because this card occasionally does whiff, but I'm not exactly sure what else to take out. I don't want to take out any Odyssey cards. I feel like we're really good in that department. Maybe we go down a Gum Gum Jet Gatling for another film card. I don't know. That's at your discretion. At the end of the day, he is a 2K counter, and getting him out on turn 1 is so important. Because then on turn 2 we could play a Dofi and then restand the Dofi. I definitely think having at least one cost searcher in this deck is important, just so you have a turn 1 play that also can put some of your other characters' abilities online on turn 2. Last but not least, we have 4 of the 0 cost event Gum Gum Jet Gatling. This is your classic 0 cost 3000 power counter. I don't really think you can ever go wrong with a 0 cost 3000 power counter event, and so I'm running 4. If you told me you ran 3 or maybe even 2, I wouldn't call you crazy either though. Now let's do a giveaway. You know we always got a giveaway on the channel. Today we do not have a custom Lim leader unfortunately, but what we do have is a custom Blue Dofi leader. Who doesn't want a custom Blue Dofi leader? All you have to do to win this leader is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. If this video gets 15 likes in the first 24 hours, I will send it to 1 US based commenter completely free. All you have to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. The art is from the One Piece Treasure Cruise game. I am not the artist. I am not selling this. It is just a fun personal project of mine. If you want to win the custom leader, you know the rules. And if you're feeling so inclined, consider hitting that subscribe button. We recently passed 1,000, and so now the goal is 2,000, of course. Thank you all for the support. That's enough of me yapping. Now let's roll the gameplay. We get to choose the turn order in our first game of the day. This is against a blue doflamingo, the most popular deck in the format and likely the best deck in the format. We are going to steal turn 1 from them. Dofi prefers to go first, so we are definitely going to steal that. Then we're going to play down the Bueno Fista Film Searcher. I debate between taking the Shanks and the Sanji 2K. I decided to go with the Sanji 2K just because I already have a Shanks in my hand. And while that Shanks is an absolute beast, I'm not sure how much of a beast it is in the Doflamingo matchup, where they're just going to be able to go so wide that KOing one rested character isn't really going to do me a lot, most likely. For 1 Don, they're going to throw down a Sengoku and get the Crocodile. Then they're going to play another one and get the Boa Hancock from Starter Deck 17. With 3 Don to work with, I'm likely just going to swing 5 with Leader, then use Leader ability and play out the Sabo 5 cost Odyssey from my hand. Ideally, we'll be able to keep this Sabo alive if they swing into it, but we'll see. They are going to play a Perona down for 1 Don and reorganize the top of their deck. Now they're going to swing 7,000. Are they going to swing into Sabo or Life? I think I'd prefer if they swung into Life. But we'll see. 7,000 into the Sabo. Hopefully they don't have the Jinbei. They do have the Jinbei, of course. And then they are going to be able to play that 4-drop Boa blocker off the Jinbei. Now swinging 8,000 to the Sabo. I'm going to keep it alive here. And part of my reasoning for doing that is that with his ability, when attacking, I will be able to draw a card. And so I'm basically getting back one of the cards that I used to counter. Off our draw, we do find a 9-cost Zoro. That could be a very interesting play next turn. This turn, though, we are going to play down the Rosinante, then use Leader ability, I think. Using our Leader ability, we need to use it just so we can play that Zoro or Shanks next turn, but then also with Ace, while it doesn't feel good getting a 2K out of hand, it does let us rest their Boa. I'm really hoping we can clear this Jinbei off the board this turn, 5,000 into it, and I would expect them to counter this, save that Jinbei, make me swing into it with Sabo, and then maybe even they save it again, but they let it go. That is a pleasant surprise for me. Now with our Sabo swing, I am going to swing into the Boa, just trying to clear their board as much as possible. While they do save it, we do get a 2K out of hand, which is great, and we also draw a 2K off of Sabo's ability, which is really helpful. They're going to be at 6 Don this turn. We could see a Jozu, we could see a potential Boa or a Jinbei. They've got a lot of options this turn. Unfortunately, they do have the Jinbei, and they have the Bounce Law to go along with it. They're going to bounce that Rosinante blocker back to my hand. that is a pretty good play for them if I say so myself. At least I should be able to keep this Sabo alive, depending on if they swing with their Boa blocker as well. I really hope they don't. I hope they only swing 7,000 into the Sabo with their leader. They're going to swing 6,000. Who are they going into? They're going to go into the ace. And I think I'm going to let the ace go just because I do not want them to swing into my Sabo. I think letting this go, unfortunately, is the best way to keep that Sabo safe. And then instead of swinging with the Boa, they will play another Sengoku Searcher and draw a Jinbei. Not amazing for us, but we're still in a decent spot. We start out with our 0 power swing just to rest it so that we can get our Sabo ability active. We are going to go with the Zoro this turn. Hopefully it will survive until next turn. Hopefully they do not have a red rock. That would be tragic. We're starting off with a Sabo swing instead of leader, just because in case they let the leader swing go through and got a trigger to bottom deck my Sabo, I would feel like a fool. We're going to swing 5,000 into leader anyway, even though they can just free block that. They decide to take it, which I wonder if that is not a misplay and they just wanted to have more cards in hand and they're not really too worried about my board. Maybe they're looking for a certain card in particular. That wouldn't be the craziest thing to me, even though they could have free blocked with Boa, of course. With 8 Don to work with, this will be the moment of truth. It looks like they will not have a Gum Gum Red Rock, but they are going to play a ton of Don on their leader and swing big into assumably my Zoro. Can we get out of this? I think we can. With the leader ability, they will be able to play a Gecko Moria, which is good for them. Playing that over a Perona, they'll be able to bring back probably like a 2K Crocodile. I'd imagine that, or a Jinbei. They take the Mihawk 2K, and then I will counter out of this attack. I'm going to have to give them 3 cards out of hand, which feels very bad. But keeping that Zoro alive is so important. They'll probably swing into my life with their Law and their Jinbei unless they're worried about resting their characters. They will swing their Sengoku Searcher into my Buena Vista Searcher. That was a good idea on their part. Get that off the board, so I'll need another character to utilize Sabo's ability. We'll just take their 5,000 power swing into our life with Law, and then their 5,000 swing with Jinbei we will counter out of. I don't want to go too down in life. Now I do have a little bit of a decision to make, because if I play down the Shanks, I can't swing multiple times with Zoro, and I think there is some validity to the idea of swinging multiple times with Zoro, trying to clear their board. It might be a Rosinante turn, and then using him, I will be able to use Sabo's ability. We are going to swing one time with Zoro 9,000 into Jinbei. I imagine they're going to let all these hits through. No way they're going to counter out of these. Jinbei's gone, and now it's time to swing into their Trafalgar Law, 9,000 into the Law. Again, I imagine they'll just let this go, and they do. Now, before we set Zoro active again, we are going to swing with our Sabo, just so we can get that card draw. I'm not going to put a ton of Dawn on him, just because I wanted to keep my options open for later this turn. We do draw the Porcas Diaz off the Sabo, and that could be interesting to cheat out with leader, and then swing big into the Boa with our Zoro. They are going to counter out of that Sabo swing, so they do keep their Gecko Moria alive. That's what we're going to do. We're going to play down the Porcas Diaz using leader ability, rest their Boa, and then we almost swing into the Boa for 7,000, but then I remember I can still set my Zoro as active. You got to be careful about that. We're going to swing 5,000 into their Gecko with our leader. They will counter out of that, and now we are going to kill their Boa. Unless they potentially have 2Ks, they'll be able to keep it alive. That would feel really bad and be kind of awkward. Now I think we're in an amazing spot. The Dofia has a small hand size. They've only got a Gecko and a Sengoku on board. Of course, this can change very fast. They do have the Red Rock, so sayonara Zoro. You got great value. Cleared almost their entire board last turn. Love that for us. 4 Don still to work with, and they will play out the Jinbei Boa combo. That was probably best case scenario for them. That was really like the best 3 cards they could have had. They're going to be able to set the top of their life. They give 1 Don to Gecko Moria, probably swinging into the Sabo, I'd imagine, really wanting to clear that off the board. Or maybe they'll go for a more likely kill, and that would be the Porcas Diaz, or maybe even Rosinante. 6,000 into the Sabo, and I'm thinking we do give them the 1K, and then if they swing 5,000 into life, maybe we block out of that. They decide not to, which is strange. I imagine they're trying to maybe starve me out a little bit, but I don't think that is really going to work. I would love to play the Shanks this turn, but I wouldn't get any value from it. We clear their Gecko just with our base swing with Porcas Diaz, so I think it's going to be a audio turn instead. We're going to play down the audio for 9 Don, set 3 Don is active. That card is great. I was not a believer at first, but now I am. We're going to give 1 Don to our Rosinante and actually swing for 5,000 just to pressure life a little bit. We do see lethal at the end of the tunnel. We're not ready for it just yet, but at the end of the tunnel, we do see it. We're going to go 6,000 with Sabo into their leader. They'll take that one as well. We do get the limb searcher off of our Sabo draw, and I think we're going to use that. We're going to swing 5,000 into their life. They're going to take that. And then we actually leave 3 Don up. That was a little bit of a misplay. Not necessarily a misplay, but I decided to actually not play the limb, and because I wanted to leave 1 Don up to use Audio's ability. So I could have actually swung at leader for 7,000, which if they took the 5,000, I would have imagined they'd take the 7,000 as well. I definitely don't think they should have taken that 5,000. I mean, it was a free counter block, but maybe they were skeptical about what else I had in hand. Maybe this person's a little new to Dofi. I think I've seen some misplays here and there. They're going to do 6,000 into my Sabo with their Boa. I'm wondering if it is time to let this Sabo go. It's gotten a ton of value, or if I should try to save it. I decide to just keep it alive with Audio's ability. I almost block with Rosinante, but I decide I'll just use Audio, resting a Don, giving Sabo plus 2,000 power. It really is insane how much value I've been able to get out of that Sabo. Constant card draw. If you can cheat one of those out on 3 Don, you are going to be set for the game, especially in this matchup. Even if they swing 9,000 at that Sabo, I do think it's sometimes worth countering out. They will swing 5,000 at the Portgas Ace, and I will let that go. I've only got the Rosinante blocker to keep my bodies alive, and I'd rather save that for the Sabo. We'll take the 5,000 leader swing, and then for 10 Don, they're going to play down the Kaido. Now, that Kaido is definitely a little bit intimidating. We could hypothetically go for lethal, but man, is it scary, because on the clapback, we very much could lose depending on how we play this turn. I'm thinking that we just try to clear board a little bit. We can start with a 5,000 swing into their Jinbei. I imagine they'll counter out of this, but we'll just be able to get cards out of hand. They don't. That's a great sign for us. Now we're going to do 9,000 into the Boa, or we decide to go into leader. I'm thinking if they take this, maybe we'd be crazy and go all in. But I imagine they're not going to take this, and they do counter out, which means it's going to be easier to potentially remove that Boa. I decide to go with the 9-cost Shanks just to guarantee it dies, and then we'll do 6,000 into their leader. Now we're in a really good place. They will take that, and I think this is going to be GG's next turn. We do have a Don up to use Audio's ability. A 4-cost blocker or a 3-cost blocker that can be easily bounced is not a great feeling, but we've got 3k of counter in hand. One of their swings would have to be that Sengoku, so I think we are going to be perfectly fine this turn. They are going to play a Sengoku searcher and draw the Boa blocker, and then just wave the white flag. They did not really have many options right there. A Boa blocker would have been helpful, but it does not really change the game. I was in a very good position, and I would have definitely won next turn, especially with all the bricks in hand. 3 Weevils definitely feels bad. If they had 2Ks there, maybe they would have kept playing, and I think it would have been closer. Now on to our next game. We have a game against Purple Luffy. That deck is also a menace in this set. It got a lot of new support. We are going to be going on the odd curve. It seems like the general consensus is when you're playing a Purple Luffy, when in doubt, you always take the odd curve. They are so much better when they are going first and are able to drop a 4-cost body on their normal 3 Don turn. For 1 Don, we're going to play down the Bueno Fista. We love seeing that turn 1, and we do find the Sanji 2K. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of film cards in this deck, so it is possible that we whiff, but worst case scenario, he's just a rested body that can contribute to some of our other characters' effects. They're going to play the Trafalgar Law Searcher, and they find the Sanji blocker from OP07, passing it back to us. We've got 3 Don to work with. We're going to use leader ability, but the question is, who are we going to play out? We can go with Lim, 3-cost 5,000 power Searcher, or the 5-cost Portgas Ace. I think the Limb Searcher will definitely be the move. We're going to start out with a 5,000 swing into their leader. We'll likely see them counter out of this attack, and they do, but at least we get a 2k out of their hand, which is very nice. Now, playing down the 3-cost limb, our options are basically just Portgas Diace, the 2K, so we'll take that. Not our best find, but hey, it's a 2K at least we didn't whiff. We've got that Sakazuki that we can play next turn. I really like the idea of playing that and KOing whatever character they play this turn. They're going to start with a 5,000 swing into limb, and we are definitely going to counter out of this. We'll give them the Shiki 2K counter. We definitely want to keep that limb alive. Then for 4 Don, we do see the Zoro Joro. They will draw the Luffy Taro off of that, which is nice for them, but they will not use leader ability that turn, so that is very nice for us. 6 Don for us to work with. We're going to be able to clear that Zoro Joro. We're going to start out with a 5,000 swing from limb. They'll give us the 1K counter with Eustace Captain Kid 5-cost blocker. I don't think that would have been crazy for them to use leader ability that turn and play that instead of the Zoro Joro. Maybe they didn't really have any Straw Hat targets in their hand though, and they know that kind of the way to win with Purple Luffy is to establish that Luffy Taro and another body. They are going to counter out of the 5,000 swing from our leader as well with a 2K counter. That is surprising. We will play Sakazuki, pop their Zoro Joro, swing with Buena Vista just to rest it so we can get Lim's ability to restand, and we'll pass it back to them. I think we are in an amazing position right now. We'll be able to drop Douglas Bullet next turn and then just go crazy. 2,000 from Trafalgar Law into Buena Vista, we'll let that go. We don't need it anymore. They've got 6 down to work with. 5,000 into our leader. I think we're fine to take this actually. We do get the 3-cost Rosinante blocker off our life, which is a pretty decent card to find right now. That will be helpful later game, even though with the new OP09 7-cost Rush Zoro, they can rest that. Still a good card to find. They will finally use leader ability. I think it might be too late for that though. Play down the Luffy Taro and the Zoro Joro. Off the Zoro Joro search, they will find the Gum Gum Giant and then pass it back to us. We're going to start out with a 5,000 swing from our Lim character into their leader. From here, we can just really pressure the board this turn. 5,000 now with our Lim leader. They countered out of the first one. Will they counter out of the second one? Moment of truth. Drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen. They give us another 2K. Now we'll do a 7,000 swing with our Sakazuki. I feel like there's no way they counter out of this one, and they do not. They let it go through. We play down the Douglas Bullet, restand our Lim character, and we are in pretty good shape, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty good shape. We've got 4 2Ks in our hand, a 1K in our hand, and the 9-cost Shanks, which is an absolute monster, especially in this matchup. If they turn their Luffy Taro sideways, or if they were to play a Rush Luffy or Rush Sanji, we could hit them with our Shanks as well. 8 Don for them to work with. They're going to start by putting 3 Don on Zoro and swinging 9,000 into our Sakazuki. That is pretty surprising to me, and we are just going to counter out of this. They may throw the rest of the Don on Luffy Taro and try to clear the Douglas Bullet. I don't think that's the craziest idea for them, but not establishing a big body here is definitely going to hurt. 13,000 at Douglas Bullet, and unfortunately my hand is just stacked with counter, so those characters will survive. Luffy still has a leader swing, and they will swing 5,000 at us, and I think we are safe just to take this. We get the Sabo out of life, which at this point in the game is not going to be too helpful, but there are worse things we could have pulled. Now the decision is, do I really just push for a lethal here, or do I try to clear board a little bit? I am going to start off with a 7,000 swing into their Zoro Joro. They will let it go, which makes me very happy, and then we'll just swing 5,000 into their leader with our Lim character. They will likely counter out of this, and they do with the 2K. Now we'll swing 5,000 at them with our leader. I actually decide to swing 6,000 at them. I will have that extra Don from playing Shanks, which they will counter out of. Now it's time to pop their Luffy Taro with Shanks. Then we're going to use Douglas Bullet's ability to swing double attack at them for 10,000. They will take that, and now we see lethal at the end of the tunnel. They're going to start their turn by swinging 5,000 at my leader. I'm just going to 1K out of that. Seems like the safe thing to do. They've got a Rush Sanji 7-cost from OP09, playing that down and resting my Lim. I wonder if they're going to swing into the Lim. They will swing into the Sakazuki, and of course, Johnny always has the counter. We counter out of that with a 1K. 3 Don left to work with for them, and they just concede. That was a rough game, I'm gonna be honest. GG's though. Our next game is going to be against another purple Luffy. We get to steal first yet again. We decide to keep our hand, which is unlike me, but it is a really good hand, I've got to admit. 6 cost or 5 cost doflamingo is a great card to play on 3 Don using leader ability, and we've got some Rosinantes, we've got an Adio, and we do get another doflamingo. I really like where we're at right now. They will give us a 1k counter to get out of our leader swing, and we'll play the doflamingo blocker for 3 Don using leader ability. Next turn, we can establish another Dofi blocker and a Rosinante blocker while using leader ability. I really love that play for us. They will use leader ability and play down a 5 cost Eustace Captain Kidd blocker. I think when you're going second, that is the move. We will take that 5,000 power swing into our life, and we get another Dofi, which is perfectly fine. We love that card. We're going to start out I think by just swinging 5,000 with our leader, they could free block this, and if they do, that's alright. We might swing into that Eustace Captain Kidd, even though I maybe should pressure life a little bit. They will give us the 1k Sangoro. We're going to play down 3 cost Rosinante and then use the leader ability to play down our Dofi blocker. We get to restand both of them, which is absolutely sick. Next turn, we'll have 9 Don and be able to play down the Adio. It is so weird to play against Purple Luffy as Lim. When you're on the odd curve, you ramp a little bit faster than them, which is really cool to see. For 4 Don, they will play down the Zoro Joro. They do not have the Luffy Taro this turn. Then 6,000 at our Rosinante. We will let that die. I think we're cool with that. And then 2 Don left up. Are they going to put it on Kidd? They will just swing 6,000 with Kidd into our life. We do have 1 2k. I don't think I'd be crazy to use that, but I do just take the hit, and we get our 4th doflamingo. I swear the deck is not stacked. They'll pass it back to us, playing down the Chump Nico blocker. We're going to start by trying to remove this Eustace Captain Kidd. 6,000 at it with our first doflamingo. They will give us the 2k, which we would have loved to gotten that off the board, but hey, a 2k out of hand is a 2k out of hand. They'll give us another 2k out of hand, which is a little bit surprising. Now it's time for our Adio. Play that down for 9 Don, set 3 Don as active. I do consider playing down the Rosinante blocker here, but I decide I'd rather leave 1 Don up with Adio and pressure that Eustace Kidd even more. All this pressuring of the Eustace Kidd is probably unnecessary. I probably should have just been going for life, but better safe than sorry. We're getting a ton of cards out of hand, which they will definitely regret giving me later. They've got 9 Don to work with. We do see them play the Luffy Taro. I wonder what else they have. They have the Sangoro to go with it, which is pretty good for them. They've got a pretty stacked board. No crazy big bodies, but definitely a lot of bodies that could potentially do a lot of damage to me. They're going to do a 7,000 swing at me with their leader. I'm thinking here we use Adio and then maybe counter 1 on top of that. That doesn't seem like a bad idea to me. To give them a Nico Robin seems like the right move. That Sabo could hypothetically be played next turn and potentially get some value. Now we're going to see a swing into our life with Eustace Captain Kidd. I'm thinking we block and give them a 1k. We'll give them that Sabo. We will likely prefer to play our Doflamingo blockers next turn, and we're going to do the same thing again. 7,000 with Zoro Juro, block with Doflamingo, and then give them a 2k. We have to be kind of careful this next turn just because they're going to have a ton of bodies that can swing into us next turn. So 6,000 into their Zoro Joro with our Doflamingo blocker. Moment of truth, do they have the counter for it? They do not. Now we're going to do 6,000 into their Eustace Captain Kidd. They still have that chump blocker on the field that they could possibly use, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do not use Nico Robin this turn. Now we're going to throw 3 Don on our leader, swing 8,000 into them. This will be a hit unless they block, and we do get the hit. Now 9,000 with Adio. That hits as well. We're going to play down Rosinante and Doflamingo and then pass, leaving 1 Don up. Giving our leader plus 2,000 power, not having to take that life. With 10 Don, they could play Gear 5 Luffy, they could play the new OP09 Luffy, they could play Sanji Rush, but with our blockers, I think we're in a fine spot. We are going to block that 8,000 Luffy Taro swing with our Rosinante. I wanted to get some value out of it in case they played the they played the 7-cost Sanji Rusher, and I was right, they do. They're going to be able to rest one of my doflamingos. I really have a wall of them right now, which is pretty crazy, and I got the 4th one in my hand. I guess it didn't really matter if I used my Rosinante blocker, just because they could still rest one of my Dofi blockers. 7,000 into my life. I think I might block and counter here. That's a little bit crazy, but I've done crazy things before. We'll give them the Shiki 2K, and now I imagine they'll go for my board, or maybe they'll go for my leader with their Sanji. They are going to go into one of my rested doflamingos, and I've got to give them that. They leave 1 Don up. What are the odds it's for a Gum Gum Giant? We top deck another Shiki. I would have loved to see a Shanks right there. A Shanks would have really hit hard. Now we are, I think going for life might be the move here. Or should we go for board? Let me know in the chat what you think I should be doing. I'm going to start by going for life. 7,000. They will take that. Now we're going to do 7,000 with our Dofi as well. I do think maybe I should have went for their Sangoro first to try to clear the board a little bit, just because I imagine they do have the Gum Gum Giant. But if they didn't have the Gum Gum Giant and they were just bluffing, then this is the right move. But when in doubt, they've always got the Gum Gum Giant. They are going to give us a ton of 2Ks out of hand. That is good news for us. We're going to give 1 Don to Audio and swing 10,000 into life. I think I probably should have swung into the Sangoro here. I'm a little bit greedy. They do have that Nico Robin blocker still up. Now, I think the move is swing 8,000 possibly into the Sangoro or possibly into life, and then play down the doflamingo blocker. Unfortunately, they do have the Gum Gum Giant, so they'll be able to keep this Sangoro alive. They get to draw 2 cards. That is not a great feeling. Now we're going to set up our wall of doflamingo blockers. Hopefully they don't have a Sanji Rush to rest one of them, but I still don't think we're completely out of this. We do have a 2K in our hand with 2 life still up, 3 blockers on the field. This is not a terrible spot to be in. We just have to survive this turn really and keep a big body or at least one other character on the board. 7,000 at us. We could do Audio and then Shiki. I'm debating on maybe I should use one of my blockers before they're rested by Sangoro. We do get the 0-cost counter event, which is good. I think I'd prefer another 2K, but hey, I'll take that as well. Now 6,000 at us with Sangoro. I think they should have done. Oh my god, I'm stuttering like crazy. I think they should have did that first, just to get that card draw and see what it would be. We will block out of that one or counter using Audio's ability. Now 7,000 with a Sanji. We are going to let that die, blocking with the doflamingo. We could have saved that doflamingo with a Shiki 2K, but I decided that's a little risky. We're just going to let that go. 7 Don's still up. I'm thinking they do have another Sanji. That would make the most sense. A blocker here and leaving Don up for a Gum Gum Giant also would not be crazy. 9,000 into Audio. I think we have to save this. Now my prediction was right. They play down the 5-cost Eustace Captain Kid blocker, leaving a Don up for potentially another Gum Gum Giant. I think here I just have to go for game. I do not think that a Shanks on the Luffy Taro will save me. I'm debating on the actual numbers I should swing for. We'll start off with a Doflamingo 7, which they will promptly counter with a 2K and a 1K. I think that's good news for us, potentially. I'm not exactly sure. Then we're going to do, I'm thinking 9,000 with Audio. I think the Doflamingo swing would have been better to do first, but we'll just do 9,000 with Audio. Into their life again. Do they have the Gum Gum Giant? Speak now or forever hold your peace. They do take that. They do not have the Gum Gum Giant, or they're just saving it. Now we just got to do the numbers. Split, probably go 10 and 10. Let me know if you would swing for other numbers. I think 10 and 10 is a good amount to swing for. I could have also did 9 and 11. That would not have been too bad either. They're debating on whether or not to block this. They will have the Gum Gum Giant, and I think this just means we lose. We'll still play it out, but I do not have faith that we are going to win. Now we're going to do 9,000, leaving a Don up for Audio's ability. I guess going into Sangoro makes the most sense, just in a last-ditch attempt to stay alive. They will let that go. I don't think blocking with Eustace Captain Kid would have been a bad idea there, just because you could use Sangoro's effect. But maybe they're not confident they'll be able to get game this turn, and so they'd rather have the blocker up. They're going to start off with a big swing from leader, 9,000 into us. We could hypothetically get out of this. We could use Audio's ability plus the 0 cost event in our hand. That is a pretty interesting option, but I don't think it's enough to save us. We'll take that in the hopes of we find something else that could be helpful, but we don't. I think I should have actually blocked that just because if they have an Uso Hachi, they'd be able to rest one of my blockers. It doesn't matter though. They've got this in the bag. 8,000 with Luffy Taro. Now they're going to throw down on their Sanji, swing big at me. 9,000. I could hypothetically get out of this. Wait, can I? No, I can't. Wait, I do get out of this. Oh my god, what a comeback, ladies and gentlemen. I can use Audio's ability, then use the 0 cost event, and that is gonna be game. I cannot believe that I came back from this. That was divine intervention. I completely forgot that I actually come back and win this game. Now we do 9,000 with Audio. That's it. GG's, that's rough. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the games I got for you today. What did you think? I cannot believe I won that last game. That was so close. Honestly, not the toughest matches. I think there was a couple misplays on my opponent's parts, but it is what it is. This deck is really fun. I really recommend you try it out. It will not disappoint you once you get the hang of it. If you made it this far in the video, thank you. Consider hitting that subscribe button. That's enough from me yapping. Peace. And don't forget to subscribe.